Hey folks, today's episode is brought to you by IFC Films and the new movie The Death of Stalin, a comedy of terrors from the creator of Veep and In the Loop. Steve Buscemi and Monty Python's Michael Palin lead an award-winning ensemble in this hilarious political satire that reinterprets the true events of Soviet succession in the 1950s. Critics are already calling The Death of Stalin a masterpiece, one of the most hilarious films of the 21st century and the political satire we need right now. Rolling Stone says it's brilliant and reminds you that any resemblance to modern world affairs is not a coincidence. The Death of Stalin in theaters March 9th. You'll laugh or else. Yeah? Did I deliver that tag? Huh? It's like Stalin.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fucking ears, what the fucksters, what the fuck Tarians? How's that? Tarians? Come on. How's it going? I'm Marc Maron. This is my podcast, WTF. Welcome to it. How's everybody doing? As maybe you can tell in my voice, I'm feeling a bit better. I'm not 100%, but I don't know if I ever am anymore. Is that possible? Like, I don't feel, it had moved into my guts. Now, I don't want to get graphic. I don't want to be TMI guy, but, there were problems, man. Like, I didn't know, there was a lot going on. I'm going to leave it at that. It started off in the head, then moved to the chest a little, then it found a home in my, lower GI. Let's just put it there. I don't know where it really was, but, yeah, it was, it was a problem, but I'm feeling better. What was my point? The point I was trying to make was that I wake up and I still feel kind of shitty, but then I got to think back before I had the sickness, and that's most of the time. Like, I wake up and I'm like, not great. Is this the way it's going to be? I don't feel well rested. I'm a little dizzy. My will to move through the day is not great, but I'm up early, so I can think about that stuff a lot. Why am I not doing more with my life? Why am I not? Maybe I should switch back to coffee. Maybe this tea's very unsatisfying. Maybe this cat food's not right for any of us if it has fish in it, because they're going to throw it up on the couch and then I got to deal with that smell on top of other things. That's become a big concern. Today on the show, I've got two guests. I talked to, Danny Lobell, the comedian. He's got a new record out, and he's a mensch, a true mensch, this Lobell kid. I've known him a long time. He's got a comic out called Fair Enough. It was always his dream to write and illustrate it. He didn't illustrate it, but he wrote it. Fair Enough, true stories from the life of comedian Danny Lobell. And he's got the podcast, Modern Day Philosophers. He's got a new record out, new CD, The Nicest Boy in Barcelona, with a riff on the Miles Davis Sketches in Spain cover. But Lobell, he had a radio show interviewing comics long before I had WTF, and he's a gem, this kid. He's a kid who's nice to old people. He likes hanging out with the old guys. He was he was a friend of Shelley Berman's. He's a good kid. He's going to be on. Bill Janovitz from Buffalo Tom is here, and Buffalo Tom is one of my favorite bands. I love Buffalo Tom. I love that band. And they always make me feel better. And here's the thing about Bill. I never really saw Buffalo Tom back in the day. We were sort of contemporaries back when I was in Boston, but I don't think I ever went to see them. And when I got there, the record I got was Bird Brain. And that record just blew my mind. I was already living in New York in the late 80s, but they had an album before that, self-titled, that I think I talked to Jay Mascis about, because he produced it. But that's got Sunflower Suit and The Bus. The Bus, that song kills me. I don't know, there's just something about the way that guy writes music. And he's here, and I've just been wondering what he's been doing. They put a new record out, but it was one of those, I didn't know how it was going to go, because I didn't know, I haven't heard from him, and I'm in terms of music, and I'm like, what's he been doing? Is he okay? And so it's sort of I try to kind of ease into that, what are you doing to make a living? I mean, Buffalo Tom was great, but what's been happening? It wasn't negative. It's not negative. It's all good. It's great. I'm going to go see them, this Saturday, I think. Anyway, Hey, wait a minute. Are you hiring? Every business needs great people and a better way to find them, right? Something better than posting your job online and just praying for the right people to see it, right? ZipRecruiter knew there was a smarter way, so they built a platform that finds the right job candidates for you, or you can say candidates. ZipRecruiter learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job. These invitations have revolutionized how you find your next hire. In fact, 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day, or a quality candidate through the site in just one day. I think I go with candidate more. And ZipRecruiter doesn't stop there, people. They even spotlight the strongest applications you receive so you never miss a great match. The right candidates are out there, people. ZipRecruiter is how you find them. Businesses of all sizes trust ZipRecruiter for their hiring needs. Right now, my listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Maron. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Maron. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire candidates. ZipRecruiter. Hey, okay, so anyway, here's what happened. This is what we're building up to. This is the big payoff. So I'm still sick, right? But I'd already put in for spots, and I was actually more sick than I wanted to be. And I put in, so I knew, like, I went to the bathroom before I left for the Comedy Store, which is about a 34-minute drive from my house, my new house, over, well, I don't want to give too much away, but it's, not a lot of options if something bad. But what my point was is that I said to myself, look, I'll do the spot if I don't shit my pants in my car. That was the deal I made with myself, is that I'll do my comedy if I don't shit my pants in my car on the way over. It was a high possibility. And there's not even great restrooms at the Comedy Store for the help. Well, it's the same restrooms for everybody. But, so needless to say, not only did I not shit my pants on the way over to the Comedy Store, but I did a pretty good set for somebody that was about to shit their pants. Sometimes it's what I need. It's just what I need to really show up, is the looming possibility of something horrible happening. In this case, literally horrible, not just a mental thing, like I could have shit my pants on stage. And I would have liked somebody to just tape my face in that moment where I knew it was happening. Because I'd like to save that face to close all of my shows with. Because how is that not the funniest face ever? What's going on? Oh my God. He's shitting his pants. Yep, I got blue. We did some shit jokes. So, Danny Lobell is a very sweet guy, very funny guy, thoughtful guy, Jewish guy, married guy. And I say those things because, he's really Jewy. And, he's all in. Like, he brought me some kosher baked goods when he got here. They're okay. That's the thing about kosher food. It's like, how was it? It was okay. I don't think it was as good as a French bakery. Like, I don't think the almond croissants from the kosher joint are as good as the actual French bakery. But, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? You don't want to mix those things. God forbid the cheese touches the meat. Huh? Anyway, I'm not being ungrateful. I ate them either way. I ate the kosher croissants. They weren't flaky enough, though. They weren't like flaky like you want a really great croissant to be. But hey, you gotta keep the dairy separate. So, you take what you get. Hey, at least they're doing it, right? Back in the day, kosher croissant, what was that? We just assumed the French didn't like Jews of any kind. Where'd that come from? Anyway, Danny Lobell, He's got a comic book out called Fair Enough, True Stories from the Life of Comedian Danny Lobell. He's got, you can get that at fairenoughcomic.com. He's got his podcast, Modern Day Philosophers, and he's got his new album called The Nicest Boy in Barcelona. Get that on iTunes. And now you're going to hear me talk to the lovely Danny Lobell. So I read the comic book or the rough draft of it, and it's basically, it almost is P-Car-esque. And you did all the artwork as well.
No, Amy Hay did the artwork.
But you do paintings. You just brought me a painting of me.
Yes, I do. But the amount of time and commitment to make a comic book to the level that I want it to be, I felt like I should leave it in the hands of an expert comic book illustrator. And I have this guy, Josh Meatbag Meat is doing the second one out of Minneapolis. And eventually I'll illustrate one as well. But it's hard to balance everything and put out a good product. So
after years as a stand-up comic and, an adept of Orthodox Jewish religion from Scottish roots, an interviewer of comedians, an amateur artist, a liker of old Altacaca comedians, a hanger-on to the saddest, oldest of the comics.
Yes.
Now, out of a seemingly hidden desire, you are making a comic book about your life.
That's what I always wanted to do. So I feel like I'm right now in the Danny Lobell Renaissance.
Is that what it's called in the calendar?
Yes. I'm doing everything I ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
I got a clarinet. I started taking lessons. I always wanted.
How old are you?
34.
Okay.
I always wanted to play the clarinet like Bechet.
You never played anything before?
I played the violin when I was a kid.
But so nothing for the whole life?
No.
And you decided to take clarinet lessons?
Yes.
How's it going?
Great.
Really?
It brings me so much joy. Have you ever seen me this happy since you've known me? I'm
trying to read you.
You can read me inside and out. There's nothing to hide. I'm so happy.
Yeah?
I'm doing everything I ever wanted to do. And talking about the interconnectivity and like my loving of hanging on there comedians, I started going up to Mill Valley to see Mort Saul. And then I wound up playing at the Throckmorton Theater, doing some stand-up there. And I had this painting that I brought you, a copy of this Bechet painting.
Yeah.
And I showed it to the woman who runs the Throckmorton, Lucy, and she goes, "You should do an art exhibit." I said, "Look, this is the first thing I painted in 20 years. I used to paint when I was a kid, but she goes, "Well, how much time do you need?" I said, "How many pieces do I need?" She goes, 20. I said, "All right, April." So
now you're jamming out paintings.
I've been doing paintings. I'm playing music. I'm writing comic books. I'm painting all day. I'm doing charcoals. I started doing all the jazz musicians, Artie Shaw, and Jimmy Noon, and Benny Goodman, and a bunch of comedians, you and Gilbert and Dave Chappelle. So I'm doing a gallery exhibit of comedians and jazz musicians that I love.
Well, that's exciting.
So yeah.
And you came out with this record with the homage to Sketches of Spain as the cover.
Yes.
Yeah. When did you do? Why is it called The Nicest Boy in Barcelona?
So my family was originally from Barcelona, and they were kicked out in the Inquisition.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to go back and do a record there. So I went back to Barcelona and I did a record there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For like a Spanish audience?
It was like half Catalan and half expats.
Yeah.
And it was a crazy time because I recorded it. It came out now, but I recorded it right after the Paris shootings, the night after. So nobody wanted to come out.
Yeah.
But I went to a Sephardic synagogue that afternoon in Barcelona.
Yeah.
And half the synagogue turned up to see me. So it was like this cosmic thing. Like I would have had almost no crowd. I had a few Catalan people, a few expats, and then half of a Sephardic congregation from Barcelona.
Yeah.
So it's like
what
crazy.
You just told them you were playing?
Yeah.
And they came? How big the congregation?
7 people. But it was a small
Good. I'm glad they showed up for you. It's quite an achievement.
Yeah.
I don't know really how many.
Yeah, the congregation in whole was like 20 people, but, like 7 of them showed up.
Oh, yeah. Boy, I thought it was big numbers.
No, but I mean, it saved the show. Yeah. I'm dead serious.
7 people saved the show?
Yeah. It's a tiny little theater called the Tinta Roja.
How many people does it seat?
Probably 40, and we...
You're really dire straits there.
Yeah, but no, but it was going to be like, the first time I went out and played Spain, it was like sold out crowds. I went out with this guy, Stephen Garland brought me out.
Yeah.
He ran the Barcelona International Comedy Music Film Fest. I don't know, whatever. A lot of titles.
There's a couple of those guys that run those rackets, huh?
Yeah.
Like there was a guy who did a China run. Forget his name. I did it. Beijing and Hong Kong, I think.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Was that good?
I don't know. It was all right. I was the shows are okay. It was interesting to be in China.
Yeah.
I can't say the shows were anything monumental.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the first time I went, I was like, wow, I got to do a record here because it was packed.
Yeah.
And then the second time,
This time?
This time when I, go out with recording people and everything, there's a huge terror attack the night before and nobody wants to leave their house.
Yeah.
So I had one shot at it and I said, you know what? I'll do it with a light crowd. And it still came out great. It's a light crowd.
Yeah.
So.
But you did well with the light crowd.
I think so.
And you can identify everybody's single laugh.
Yeah.
Every one of those 40 people.
They're all on the record.
Yeah. And they can hear themselves laughing. Well, that's good. So this just came out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's that. How's your wife doing?
She's good. She's doing a lot of writing. She writes, non-funny stuff.
Uh-huh.
So articles and on all kinds of subjects.
How is she still like being Jewish?
Yeah.
She's still in?
Yeah. I think we've never been more happy with we found a Sephardic congregation in Los Angeles that we feel like at home in.
Uh-huh.
And it's great. It's got, I grew up in a Moroccan synagogue, so all the tunes that I grew up with are these Moroccan tunes, Ladino tunes,
uh-huh.
and so like it's hard to find it, and when you do find it, it kind of excites something in you from your childhood.
You recognize the melodies.
Yeah. So just that alone.
Is that
like
primarily what makes it different? A Sephardic congregation? I mean, are these people from mostly America, or are people?
No, it's mostly like. You have a mix of, here in LA, you mostly get Iranians. But,
but Persians?
Yeah.
Persian Jews.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills, baby.
Beverly Hills. But you get some Iraqis, you get some Turks and some Moroccans and Israelis. It's just a nice eclectic mix of accents and stuff. And and I find it's just, for me it's more fun. It's a more fun, because it's what I grew up in. So.
Well, yeah, certainly it's probably better than your sort of run-of-the-mill, middle to upper middle class Orthodox congregation.
Yeah, there's something about that I'm sure it's great for a lot of people. And
is it Orthodox?
Yeah, it's Orthodox. But in Sephardi, you don't even have Orthodox. It's everything. You have people who are all different levels of observance, and they all get together.
Yeah.
And they just, which I love about it. There's like less segregation, in terms of where you stand. It's not, there's no label for it.
Colorful yarmulkes.
Yeah, colorful yarmulkes, and round Torahs, and
show-offy taluses.
No show-offy taluses. Plain white mostly.
Oh, really? No one's coming back from Israel with the colored fringe.
No, I think that's more like I find like conservative congregations, they go crazy with their taluses. Like,
yeah, that's true.
It's like they have talus flair or something.
That's right. Yeah, they come back with. But the yarmulkes are they the big ones? The kind that look like hats?
Yeah.
But they're like beaded or what, woven?
Woven, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of those.
You do?
Yeah.
You're wearing a Ralph Lauren yarmulke now.
Yeah. This is the most comfortable hat. It's like this floppy kind of thing that.
Do you wear your yarmulke out?
Usually only on Shabbat, not during the week.
No? Why not?
And I don't know, just not my custom.
So you're making up the rules for your Orthodox practice?
Well, again, it's like Sephardim. Not all Sephardim wear yarmulkes.
But it was always Sephardim with you, or was it?
Yeah.
All right.
But when my wife converted, she converted not with Sephardim and in an Ashkenazi kind of thing, and I went along, but it was like I didn't feel connected in that way.
So what? So now she's coming around to Sephardim?
No, she loves it. It's a party.
Yeah.
When you go there.
So she was more Jewish than you at one point?
Oh, it probably still. She. There's a purity to it because they come in without the baggage. There's no.
Sure, and they really want to learn it and appreciate it, and if they're in it for the right reasons, they gotta you gotta lock it in with all the belief.
Yeah, she brought me back into it. I had a lot of hang-ups and anger, and I'm glad I'm rid of them all, you know?
Because you got brought up in the old school Ashkenazi, but not Lubavitcher, though.
Not Lubavitch, no.
Just below that. Pre-Lubavitch.
Like, that's the next level.
You didn't go full Lubavitch. You just
a half Lubav, you know? Like
half Lubav. So, all right, so you got the comic, and this is a life's work, and this is just the first book of you know, talking about you making a comic.
Right.
And your relationship with Harvey Pekar, and then, like, it ends with you sort of starting to interview people.
Right.
Yeah. And so this is going to be an ongoing thing of your journeys in life from that period, which is, what, a decade ago?
About a decade ago, yeah. Maybe 14 years ago.
So you got 14 years of stories that you're going to embark on with the comics.
Right. So,
right.
So, yeah, I'm going to put out 4 a year. But they're going to jump around in time, too.
What was the magazine you put out?
The Comical.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Yeah. We had you on the cover.
Yeah.
I remember I had a big fight with one of the sponsors about it.
Oh, really?
No, people didn't know who you were yet.
Yeah, they barely know now.
3 people that knew you were a genius.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, I'm putting Marc on the cover. And he goes, pick anybody more of a profile than Marc. Just give me somebody. Because he was sponsoring the magazine. He goes, no one's going to pick it up if they don't. He goes, look, I like Marc Maron. He's funny, but you don't understand the magazine business clearly. You can't just put who you like on the cover. I'm like, I'm putting him on the cover.
Well, thanks for going to bat for me.
That was
the cover of the Comical.
I feel like it's all cosmic, you know, like here I am now, and like you're
again.
Yeah. With harissa sauce.
Here
you
you
know?
are again with croissants and harissa sauce and a CD and a fucking comic book and everything.
But that's got to be karma, right? That's got to be something karmic about that.
Yeah, I owed it to you because of the Comical.
But you didn't know about the Comical. This is the first time I ever told you.
No, what do you mean? I was on the cover. I must have seen it. I don't remember that well.
But you didn't know that I went to bat for you.
No, thank God. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. You know,
geez, I wouldn't want to hurt you at the time.
The life changer. Yeah, sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
I was going to put you on the cover of the magazine no one buys, but then But then the guy who's giving me money said less people will buy it, and no one's buying it now. But I kept you on there.
Yeah.
And I didn't lose the sponsor.
Yeah. It was my big stand.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I'm glad to be part of that. And yeah, this is full circle.
Yeah.
Now I'm giving it back.
That's what I'm saying. It's karmic.
So what about, are you going to have kids or what?
I hope. I hope so.
You just seem like the guy who's going to have kids.
I want to have kids.
Oh, you trying?
Not yet, but I want.
You know how to do it, right?
Yeah. You want to coach me?
No, just want to make sure you know what you're doing.
Yeah. I want to.
Yeah.
In the near future, I'm just trying to
get all your ducks in a row.
Yeah. And I feel like it's happening. You know. Yeah.
Are you doing a lot of stand up?
Not as much as I was. I'm doing. I think we're doing a show together this week at the Comedy Store.
Oh yeah.
On Thursday night.
Oh right, that's true. For Skylar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I haven't been doing as much. I started doing one-man shows, and I've been doing a lot. I did Edinburgh last summer.
Oh, that's right. I remember talking to you.
Yeah, and that went really well.
Yeah,
and so I'm doing it again this summer.
And what's your wife? She's writing for a living?
She's writing for a living.
That's great.
Yeah.
All
and
right.
I just do this. I do the podcast, the modern day philosophers podcast. Where we talk about philosophers.
Yeah, we did that once.
Yeah.
And that's still going strong?
Going strong.
Oh, good.
Just did one with George Wallace.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
How was that?
Oh, fun. That guy is good energy.
Yeah?
Oh, man.
He's a big boy.
Yeah. He's
like 9 feet tall, that guy.
Yeah, he's towering over you.
Yeah.
But just jovial, fun, warm guy.
Is he still in Vegas?
He's in Vegas, yeah. He was
forever
in town for
Vegas,
a few days.
right?
Well, he says he's going to get out of Vegas now. He's going to start doing more stuff. He ended his Vegas run. He was telling me on the podcast he's starting to do some television hosting and all kinds of other things. So
he was in Vegas a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And one of the things we talked about was his whole dream in life was to be in Vegas, and then he accomplished it. And then he's like, "What do I do now?"
Really? That was the whole dream?
Yeah.
My dream is to never go there.
I couldn't understand that dream either.
Never have to go to Vegas is my dream. Like people are like, "You play Vegas?" I'm like, "Why?"
Yeah.
Why?
Right. It must be like some like romance to like the the days of like Don Rickles and Jerry Lewis there that he probably grew up with.
But I think that people are more business minded. If you can get one of those residencies, you got a year on the books.
Yeah.
For like a set amount of money. You got a contract. I think that's appealing to some cats.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, man. Like you're doing like what, 3-4 shows a week? They put you up. You can eat at the hotel or whatever.
It's starting to sound depressing.
Yeah, it is. It was depressing, right at the beginning that that you want to be secure for the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember one time I used to work at a place in a hotel, that fucking Catch in Princeton.
Oh,
do you remember that place?
Do I? Why do I think I do? I think I was there once.
I believe it was in a hotel.
Yeah, it was definitely in a hotel. Was I there with Ralphie? I used to tour with Ralphie, and I went to a lot of these places.
It's a little place. Ralphie May?
Yeah, maybe it wasn't that.
It was a long time ago.
I'm thinking of something.
A long time ago, but I remember it was like you had to eat at the employees' lounge, the employees' restaurant downstairs, where you had a buffet for the people that worked at the hotel. It was depressing.
Yeah.
Sitting there in that weird subterranean lunchroom. And you stayed at the hotel where the club was at. It was a Hyatt in Princeton.
Yeah, that's never fun.
It wasn't fun, dude. There's a lot of moments that are not necessarily fun. But, you look back at them, you're like, those are the good old days.
Yeah. Now I'm looking back at them, I'm like, is there a comic book there? I could maybe make
a shit gig comic book? That'd be a great comic book.
Yeah. Well,
Hell gigs?
I'm writing like all the stories of being a stand-up in a comic book, just my life as a stand-up.
All right, so let's wrap it up. When's the first one come out?
March 1st.
And then what, you're 4 a year?
4 a year.
And the record, Danny Lobell, the nicest boy in Barcelona, performed for 38 people.
Yeah.
The day after a terrorist attack and 7 Sephardim.
I have a 7 Sephardim guarantee on all my...
That's happening.
Yeah.
But the comic book's got some nice Harvey Pekar stuff, and there's a sweet little relationship you got with that guy.
He kicked off everything for me because I was very insecure. I feel like I'm the most secure I've ever been now, but I was very insecure, and I was scared, and I had very low ambitions.
Yeah.
And then I saw this movie, American Splendor, and I was like, oh, this guy reminds me of me.
Yeah.
And he did something with his life. Like, he's got a movie made about him.
Yeah.
And like, it brought back, I'm like, oh, that's what I always wanted to do. I used to make comic books when I was a kid. And this guy does it as an adult. I could do it, And
how'd you call him?
He was in the phone book. Because in the movie, he had this opening scene about how happy he was to be in the phone book. It meant he was somebody to see his name in print in the phone book. And I thought maybe he's still in the phone book. And I called him expecting that it was a stupid, crazy idea.
Yeah.
And then his voice answered the phone,
Yeah.
Harvey Pekar on the other line. And I immediately lost my voice to nervousness.
Yeah.
I was so nervous that it actually worked.
Yeah.
And then he got me talking and I got more comfortable. I remember my heart was beating through my chest. I'm like, oh my God. I wasn't planning for him to actually pick up.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
And then I made this stupid announcement to him on the phone because I said I want to get my writing published and nobody wants to publish it. I'm a starting out stand-up comic and I submitted some places and I don't even hear rejections. I don't hear anything.
Yeah.
I said, I wish I could do what you do and just put it out myself. And he just goes, you can.
Yeah.
And that just shook my brain when I was like, wait a minute, I can? He goes, yeah, just figure it out. Find a way and do it. And then I said, okay, I will. And then I hung up and I'm like, well, I can never call this guy again if I don't.
Yeah.
So, cause then I just look like a liar. So that just forced me to make that magazine that you were on the cover of. I just needed to make something so I could keep calling him and have a friendship. And I was just like, the guy was a hero to me.
Yeah.
And
then you don't want to spoil it because it comes sort of full circle. It's kind of cute in a mystical way. All right, buddy. Well, I'm glad you're doing well.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me back on.
Great to see you.
And
thanks for the pastries.
Oh yeah.
And tell me when you're having a kid.
Oh yeah, I will.
Yeah.
I'll invite you. We'll do a podcast about it.
While she's in labor. All right, buddy. All right, so you got the deal. That's Danny. Thank you, Danny, for the croissants. The kosher croissants. I feel like I was rude and you probably listened. I'm ungrateful. I gotta get straight with God. That's what I gotta do. As I said before, Danny's, you get the comic book, fairenoughcomic.com. You can get Modern Day Philosophers, his podcast on iTunes, and his new album, The Nicest Boy in Barcelona, on iTunes as well. A lot going on, that kid. Anyway, so like I said before, Bill Janovitz, I love Buffalo Tom. I haven't seen him. I've never met him, but I don't know, what he's been doing. And I was nervous about that. I was just nervous because it was like one of those things where it's sort of like, is everything okay? What have you been up to? But they got a new Buffalo Tom record out, which is nice. And, it's called Quiet and Peace. It's out tomorrow. Look, we're sponsored today by Simply Safe, the fastest growing home security company in the nation. And because they're growing fast, they're making some changes. They've already changed the way security companies operate, and now they're changing the way you think about having a security system in your home. That's because they've just released their brand new home security system, the all-new Simply Safe. It is completely rebuilt and redesigned. They've added new safeguards to protect against power outages, downed Wi-Fi, cut landlines, bats, hammers, golf clubs, tire irons, basically anything that you don't want people using to break stuff in your house. The all-new Simply Safe was redesigned to be practically invisible with sensors so small you can blanket your home in protection and never notice. What everyone will notice is that your home is protected by the expert service of Simply Safe. And believe me, all creeps out there know the deal when they see that Simply Safe sign. That's why Simply Safe protects more than 2 million people nationwide. Simply Safe has added a lot with this new system, but you still get the same fair and honest price. $15 a month for 24/7 protection and no contracts. Ever. The new Simply Safe is smaller, faster, and stronger than anything they've built before, but supply is very limited, so visit simplysafewtf.com now to order that stuff. You hear me? Now. That's simplysafewtf.com. Dig it. Can you dig it? So, as I said before, Bill Janovitz from Buffalo Tom, they have a new record out, Quiet and Peace. Comes out tomorrow, March 2nd. I believe they're going to be at the Terragram Ballroom here in L.A. this Saturday, performing all of Let Me Come Over, I believe, all the way through. 2 shows. I don't know what the ticket situation is, but I know that I'm supposed to go. Probably the early one before I do comedy. And he's here. I'm a big fan of the band, and I'm just been curious what he's been up to and how life is for Bill. So this is me and Bill Janovitz.
You have the Stones books, right?
Let me see. I don't have the 33 and a third
there
one.
You go. I brought that for you. The Rocks Off is the other one.
Yeah, that was your big book on the Stones.
Yeah, and 13. Blockbuster.
Yeah. But what compelled you? I mean, did it start with the writing on Exile and this 33 and a third? They asked me to write a 33 and a third, and I was going to write one about Class Clown, but I just I find the exercise of writing so painstaking and relentless for the actual payoff that I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sort of in that state right now, thinking about another project.
Like what?
Like, what's the next project? Yeah. I don't even want to kind of,
More music writing?
Yeah, more music writing. So it's trying to find that kind of thing you want to dedicate yourself to. And it's like, is it going to be compelling for me? Is it going to be commercial enough?
It takes so much time.
Yeah.
So you're worried about selling a book?
Not selling so much as like, I got other things. I got the band. I got a family. I got a day job. I got blah, blah, blah. So it's like, what am I? I mean, that really, the last one took like, I did it in an intense period of time.
What, the Rocks Off?
Yeah. 50.
And what was the angle of that? I got it, but I have hardly any time to read.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I started with this one because I really did want to write on Exile. I loved the idea of this 33 and 3 series.
Yeah, it's great. They do a lot.
Yeah, and this was the early-ish days, like when you could still go, hey, I have this idea.
Yeah.
Nobody's picked Exile yet,
Right.
But my friend Joe Pernice from the Pernice Brothers, Mountain Boys, he did one. And so,
what band? Were they in a band? Pernice Brothers?
Joe was in the Scud Mountain Boys, and the Pernice Brothers were a band.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And Joe still plays. He plays with Raymond from Teenage Fan Club, and he's up in Toronto now.
Right.
He and I went to UMass Amherst together, and
right.
So he had done one. So I said, "Hey,
what did he do? Which one?"
He did Meet His Murder, and it was sort of it was a novella.
It's like I can't. I've never locked into the Smiths.
I was locked into him for a sort of How Soon Is Now era.
Yeah.
Meet His Murder.
Yeah.
And the Hatful of Hollows record. But after that, yeah, I mean, the whole Morrissey solo thing, I just don't know why people.
I don't know where.
It's as much of a comedy show as anything.
But you're like around my age. Did I miss it? There seems to be a chunk of time where I just was not, maybe I just wasn't paying attention to music. I don't know what happened.
Yeah. So that would have been what, like 84? It was right as I was getting out of high school, I think that.
Oh, that was it. I seemed to push back on, what was legitimately, punk rock and fringe music.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I'm similar. I mean, I was into sort of the earlier punk rock stuff. But not so much, not so much like Dead Kennedys or then sort of the hardcore.
Yeah.
And in Boston, I moved to Boston when I was like 16, and hardcore was huge.
Where'd you come from?
I grew up on Long Island.
You did?
Yeah.
What town?
Huntington.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Jewish guy?
No. I even did a DNA test. I thought for sure some Jewishness would come out. No Jewish.
Wait.
I grew up culturally half Irish, half Italian. The Janovitz is kind of a little red herring in the.
Oh yeah? How'd that get in there? Janovitz.
Yeah, we're trying to figure that out. It's Janovitz, so it's sort of a bastardized Eastern European thing. My father's grandfather came from somewhere.
Oh yeah.
We heard Russia, but
that sounds right.
Yeah.
So you're Irish Italian.
Irish Italian. My mother's Italian. Yeah.
Huntington's is that Italian Irish town?
Yeah, just like a bar every corner and the best pizza in the world.
And you got a big family?
I'm the oldest of 5.
5?
Yeah.
Catholic family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full on.
Yeah. Oldest of 5. So you got a bunch of how young's the youngest?
The youngest is 15 years younger than me. So what am I? 51. I don't even want to do the math. But
wow.
He's
no kidding.
He's got his kids of his own though.
You got kids too?
Yeah. I got an 18-year-old girl and a 13-year-old boy.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So you got started that pretty around the right
30s,
time.
yeah, 30s.
All right, so because the first I remember Buffalo Tom, I probably got the Bird Brain album first in when was that, the late 80s? Like 90, maybe 1990, maybe 89?
89 for Bird
Right,
Brain.
and then I went back and got the first one with Sunflower Suit on it somehow.
Yeah. SST. So that was the hardcore label, the Black Flag label.
Yeah.
But I was going to say that the stuff that started to make sense to me in terms of punk rock was when Husker Du sort of married it all together, the energy with
right.
And so the three of us in Buffalo Tom were very much influenced by Husker Du and the Replacements out of Minneapolis, but also the Boston bands. I know you were in Boston, so Mission of Burma.
Yeah.
There's a band called the Moving Targets.
Yeah, I remember them.
Fantastic band.
Yeah.
Really underrated, like unknown.
Well, I remember like the era that you were there, but so you leave Huntington at 16?
82, yeah.
And you just run away from home?
Yeah, no. My father got a job up in Providence, so we moved to this town called Medfield, which is sort of between Providence and Boston in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Went from this town where I had all these I had my own band. I had all my friends. I grew up there, and
from Huntington, you had a band in Huntington in high school.
Yeah, I was like a teenager.
And when did you start playing guitar?
I started playing like 12, 13.
What kind of music were you playing in high school? Because you're
question.
52?
Yeah, 51. Yeah,
51.
Yeah, this kind of stuff, Stones. But it was the time where Talking Heads and Clash and Joe Jackson and that kind of stuff was
just coming out.
And so we were, we went from playing like half Stones and half like Neil Young covers to putting in Psycho Killer or this and that.
Oh, you did.
But it was like it was a conservative era out on Long Island, and it probably still is. It's like. Until the alternative station came down there after I left, it was still very much. I remember.
Weren't there some punk bands from there? Weren't the Dictators from Long Island?
They were from where were the Dictators from? Like Bronx? Maybe?
Oh, maybe. Yeah. The Ramones, Long Island.
Ramones of Queens. Yeah. But I mean, I'm talking like real Long Island, not Queens.
Yeah.
This is like North Shore of Long Island. It was very much the Grateful Dead, Lacrosse,
right.
Southern rock,
right?
Even in like the late 70s.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
And the Stones were getting criticized by the dudes for playing disco or
for the Some Girls record.
So that's the kind of it was. And I remember being at this Battle of the Bands.
Yeah, you knew guys that turned on the Stones.
Oh yeah, well I remember exactly. Oh man, this is disco.
Yeah, what the fuck, man? Yeah.
But then I remember this great. Battle of the Bands, where there was this band called Plastic Device who came out. In my memory, they were like in jumpsuits, like Devo. Or
sure.
And they launched into I'm So Bored with the USA, and the kids in the high school auditorium booed them all, not off stage, but booed them because they're anti-American.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh really? So they just weren't ready.
They weren't ready yet.
They weren't. But I think there's still pockets of Long Island that aren't ready.
Yeah.
Now.
That's why they're out on Long Island.
Sure. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of, Trump support down there on some areas of the island. Sure,
absolutely.
Man. Dug in, man.
Yeah.
Dug in old time, jingoistic nut jobs.
It's sort of protection kind of thing,
So you get up to Providence, and Providence, but you weren't in Providence.
No, I was outside of Boston, but it was like in the middle of nowhere. So I went from this really kind of thriving town where you could really get around yourself, hitchhiking, bus, whatever, but beaches, downtown, record stores, to this literally one stoplight town, and a nice, beautiful town, but in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it took a while. It was a depressing time, but
you finished high school there?
Yeah, finished high school there. Then went up to UMass, and that's and Chris actually from Buffalo Tom. He kind of came from Huntington as a kid too, and moved to Medfield when he was there years before me. But we met at UMass. He's 2 years older.
Oh, wait, so it's just three of you in the original band? They're all like Tom McGinnis. I remember him. Yeah. I don't know if I know him. I feel like I met him before. Is that possible?
He's a real quiet guy. He's the only native New Englander in a band. He grew up in Andover, and he went to UMass.
So you went to UMass, and that's where you met Chris and Tom.
Yeah.
And you guys started playing together.
Yeah. So we were all in other bands, but
what band were you in?
It was just nobody. It was called. Well, in high school, I was in a band called Rambunctious Llamas, which became some other name. It's just high school kids.
Yeah.
But Tom played bass in his cousin's band, and actually, do you know Tim O'Hare, producer? He did like Sebado records, and he worked on our first record, and
maybe
great producer out of that whole Fort Apache scene. He worked on our first record. He was in a band with Tom actually, and they were called Played a Mutton, and then they were called Skylar Hinkle. But I was a high school kid with like these college kids going up to Andover during Christmas break, and I saw Tom playing bass, and they were playing these original songs, and his cousin was amazing, wrote really great songs, this whole Bowie kind of vibe to him. And it just sort of blew my mind that people could, and they were already sort of playing, like Jumpin' Jack Flash in Boston or the Rat and stuff like that as like sort of high school kids.
Whoa, Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Remember
Where was that?
That was over near the Fenway.
Yeah, man.
Burned down.
Yeah. So that was that moment where you're like, oh, you can write songs.
Yeah, and also Tom was really handsome, and I wanted to be in a band with that guy. But we stuck him behind the drums. So we kind of, it's just the era where, Jay Mascis was around and those guys, and there was a lot of equipment down in people's
He didn't go
basements.
to school there though, right? He did. He went to UMass?
Yeah, he grew up
down
in
the
Amherst.
street from his house, right?
Yeah, he grew up in Amherst. And they were already going, by the time we
Dinosaur
formed,
Jr.?
they had already put out their first record, and then
Bug?
I think the first one, self-titled.
Oh yeah.
And then the one with, Repulsion on it.
Yeah.
And then You're Living All Over Me was second. And that was came out right around the time we were forming. And, so there was like shared amps and drums in these houses in Northampton, the next town over. And so guys would just get together at parties and jam. And that's kind of how we got going,
Really?
Just stuff out. A lot of hour downtime. And, so those guys each wanted to learn different instruments. I was already sort of singing and playing and writing my own songs. So Chris jumped to bass and Tom jumped to drums from bass. So, yeah.
And he didn't know how to play drums?
No, he was, he had been fooling around in drums at his, with his own band, but it was his other drummer's set, so, it'd be left at his mom's house kind of thing.
Right. So, all right, so you guys are all hanging out up there in Amherst, and Jay's around.
Yeah.
Well, what was the scene? Was he did everyone consider him a mastermind of some kind, or was it just everyone equal?
It was a really small group of people, Black Flag would come through, or the Replacements, and it would be like,
Replacements came through?
Yeah, Student Union Ballroom kind of shows.
So, they were at that was the top of their game, right?
Yeah, so I first saw them at the Channel on, I guess it was Tim, right as Tim was coming out.
That's a little later, right? I mean,
that would have been 85.
And then there was only one more after that, wasn't there? Really?
Well, no, there was a couple more. Please Meet Me, and then there was Don't Tell a Soul.
Don't Tell a Soul. That was the last one.
I think so.
Yeah.
I kind of lost track. After that.
Sure.
But yeah, bands like that would come through, and the Pixies. You know, remember? Did you know that area at all? Sheehan's. There was a pub called Sheehan's.
Well, I knew people around the Pixies, but I didn't know them personally.
Yeah, I mean,
it was like I was on my way out.
Joey and Charles were up at UMass as well, but they didn't form the band until they went back to Boston. But they would come back and play, and there was this basement place called in Sheehan's, and there would be like, you know, maybe 50 people max.
Yeah.
And that, you know, so we'd see a lot of the same faces. So when Jay and Lou and Murph started making it big, they were still getting grief from sound men around there, and you know, and it was really hard to get gigs there because it was the 80s, and it was very much the 80s there, you know. So like the only bands that people really wanted to go see in mass amounts was like reggae and blues and stuff they could dance to and drink to, you know.
Sure, it's college town.
Yeah, and Jay was still using pretty much like almost the same size rig he has now, you know, 2 full stacks in like a tiny little club, and mirrors. I remember mirrors falling off the wall at this place called Oasis and breaking, and you know, he'd have guys in tears, you know, because he was just
too loud,
but he didn't give a fuck. You know? And it was very punk rock. People would be at him, and you've met him, and he's just kind of, you know, stone faced.
Yeah. He's gotten a little warmer.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He's
as he's become more of a guru.
Something gives. I knew a woman who I think was like maybe the Pixies' first manager before they got big, and I can't remember. I should know her last name, but I can't remember her first name. Ann. It's real. No, it bothers me because you know things just disappear in your brain.
Yeah, I know. Well, I remember a lot of that era. I mean, because we got going soon after that, like at the Fort Apache. And Fort Apache was like the sort of cohesive element of Boston.
Where was that?
Well, the first one was down in Roxbury, so it was really, that's where the name came from. It was a really rough era. You know,
and that was a studio?
Yeah, it was a warehouse.
What was the guy's name? Tim O'Hare?
Tim O'Hare, but I mean, Tim was just one of the sort of guys, it was like a clubhouse of guys like Sean Slade, Paul Coldery, Lou Giordano, and Gary Smith, and Joe Harvard. Joe Harvard is actually Joe Pernice's cousin. Then they moved to Cambridge, and that became sort of the big up in Camp Street where Rounder Records was.
Right.
Cambridge.
Yeah.
That was
what year was that?
They moved up there right around the time we were starting, so like 88, 89, and they had 2 going for a while, and then they moved again nearby. But you know, that was like sort of the big cohesive element of Boston.
And who was recording there?
Well, I mean, the Pixies started there. Big Dipper, Throwing Muses, Dinosaur, Lemonheads, Juliana and the Blake Babies.
Yeah, Blake Babies. Yeah. All those cats.
Yeah, and then, you know, bands from outside started coming. As soon as like bands like the Pixies and Throwing Muses started making big waves overseas, you had Radiohead come in and Hole, and then, you know, Paul and Sean.
All the Fort Apache?
Yeah.
And that was
either
just
mixing or recording.
It was just a studio.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, Uncle Tupelo did a record up there, and it was an amazing discography.
So what gets Maskus? Because I talked to him about doing your first record, and it seemed to be kind of a hazy thing to him. He didn't completely own it in a way. Like he was like, I did, but we were all over. I think he felt insecure about his capacity at that time.
Yeah, I think a lot of people misread him that way. They think he's being standoffish or something. But he's a pretty humble, modest guy. And he didn't really, I mean, that first record was done in like different sessions over months.
Right.
You know, so we started it with Tim O'Hare, and then Sean and Tim, Sean Slade, and then Jay came in like somewhere in the middle of that. And then Jay did all of our second record.
Oh, he did?
With Sean Slade. And then we went on to Sean Slade and Paul Coldery for our third record. So
the first record's got Bus and Sunflower Suit on it?
That's right, yeah.
I love those songs.
Oh, thank you. Thanks very much.
And Bird Brain's the second one?
Bird Brain's the second one. Yeah, it's a little bit darker for the most part.
I love Bird Brain.
Enemy, Fortune Teller, Bird Brain.
Those are the best. Thanks. Fortune Teller is great. Like, I didn't realize that Jay did that.
Yeah, so that was the one where we had Jay in from start to finish. And, you know, what we loved about Jay was a kind of a vibe guy, you know?
Yeah.
So he was like, he lights up, to this day, he lights up when you just sort of talk about guitars and gear and getting sounds for that stuff. In terms of the songs and arrangements, he wasn't really involved so much in that, you know?
Yeah.
He did say, this is about Bird Brain. He said, this is the hit that's going to make all the girls cry.
Bird Brain?
Yeah.
For me, the song on that record that I love is Fortune Teller.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Who.
Is it?
Yeah, it's almost like, I think it's like I can see from Miles' chords going up the neck, I think.
Well, I liked all these songs. Like, this is one of those, I think Bird Brain was the first song where that album was like the one where I'm like, well, who the fuck are these guys? I'm glad that I got that at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't just the three of you on that record, huh?
It was.
Yeah?
Yeah, just.
But you had other people hanging out? Or playing guitar and things?
Oh, yeah, different. Yeah. Jay plays on the song Bird Brain. I think we have Tom's cousin sings on, I don't know, one of these songs somewhere along the line. But yeah, no, it's been mostly just the three of us. We had a keyboard guy later in our career, like in the late 90s for, touring and for one record, but he wasn't really.
So after this record, so you do the first record, and do people pick up on it? Before?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a different era where expectations were much lower.
Yeah.
The fact that Dinosaur was going across country, never mind to the UK and stuff, and doing well, was like, God, if we could just get a record on SST Records, that would be a goal, right? And
right.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And then we could go on and graduate college and go on to our normal life.
Right.
So each thing was really like moving it down, moving the goalpost down a little bit until, it became this post-Nirvana age where they were signing everything that moved. So
did you finish college?
Yeah, we all finished. I was the last. I'm the youngest.
What'd you get a degree in?
I was communications and comparative literature minor. And, yeah, kind of just
But then you just got it done, and then you just hit the road.
Yeah, exactly.
So all right, so you got your record on SST, and that was sort of like cool.
Oh yeah,
yeah, but it wasn't like, and then you just started touring.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think our first real tour was over in like Belgium and Holland and the UK. I mean,
opening for who? Were you?
No. Well, actually, no, it was mostly our own tour.
Yeah.
We did do a string of dates, either on the first or second record, opening for Henry Rollins' band, which was pretty intense, in Germany. Rollins.
What year? Which Rollins band configuration?
Sam Hain was what's his name? The drummer, and I forget who else.
Pretty crazy, huh?
It was intense. They were really serious.
Yeah, he's very.
And we
serious.
were just this sort of like goofy.
Even when he's funny, he's serious.
Yeah.
Henry Rollins.
Yeah, and I think some of those old school SST guys had little time for us. I mean, SST was changing around the time we got
because it used to be sort of a community. Was it like the Minutemen and like
they sort of developed a circuit, and we came a little later. And
right.
SST itself was sort of falling.
And you weren't really punk rock.
No, we were not. But I mean, punk informed.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. You seem to be on the cusp of that Buffalo Tom sound was how music was changing at that time. It was a new thing that was going on.
Right.
I'm not sure how broad that spectrum is, but it seemed like REM and people like the Replacements and stuff that weren't essentially punk rock but punk informed, but pretty American music.
Yeah, we called it college rock back then before alternative. It's like because we were all played on college stations. We toured a lot of colleges. Salad bar gigs, whatever you call them, and but it was still very much a big deal. That's why I talk about low expectations. Like for REM to have a major label deal at that point was still new, and they were starting to play these big halls, like even arenas.
That was all happening because Bird Brain comes out in 1990.
Yeah.
How did you get signed from after the first record?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a long story, but we were mostly signed to this Dutch label primarily, because they were the first one. We had gone through our, records, like sending out demo tapes, and we had this Gun Club record that we were huge Gun Club fans, and they had a live record that was put out by this label called Megadisc.
Yeah.
Rick Ermel in Holland and Belgium. And so that's kind of how we got some real footing in the Benelux countries, which to this day are our biggest sort of market per capita.
Really? Were they which
countries?
Where?
Holland and Belgium.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In particular, Belgium. Like it's there's this line in I think it's Singles, or is that the one with Matt Damon?
Yeah.
Singles.
Matt Dillon, right?
Yeah. Matt Damon. Oh, yeah, old. Where he says, "I just found out our band is big in Belgium," and it's like this big laugh line, and my wife elbows me as we're watching. Hey, you're big in Belgium. Yeah. So, and he licensed us basically. We had a deal in the U.S.
Because you liked a live
SST.
Gun Club record. You reached out.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the days you just sent out cassettes and this guy wrote us a letter and he wants to own everything.
But it's just so funny. Yeah. That's what drove you. Like, like the history of SST was the first feather in the cap to get an SST record. Now, like, this label's got to be cool.
No, they were. Megadisc was first. They were the first ones to respond. So Greg Ginn sat down with us in New York from SST, the guy from Black Flag, and I think he sat down with us because we already had Jay involved.
Yeah.
So I think that was an angle for him.
Yeah.
But then we signed to Beggar's Banquet.
Yeah.
Which was like that was our Papa label for most of our career.
But then the next record, Let Me Come Over, 92. That was the big record.
Yeah, that was sort of, well, it's funny. That started to happen.
That's the one I gave Jon Stewart, and somehow he managed to get into Rolling Stone magazine and say you were his favorite band.
Oh, yeah. I remember hearing
buddy.
about this.
I did that.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if you're still his favorite band, but I remember like he asked me at some point what I was listening to him. I was telling everybody about Buffalo Tom. I had to get like David Cross, who was a snob about pop, like he was a big fire hose guy and like, power. He just liked a certain type of music. And like I kept pushing, like I have Bird Brain. I was like, this is it. And then this one, and finally he relented. So I was
Thank you.
An early.
I didn't know you were that much of a proselytizer.
Yeah, man. For Buffalo Tom.
Appreciate it.
Sure, I was. Yeah.
Thanks.
But because Bird Brain in this record, I like all the songs on this record too. On Let Me Come Over.
Yeah. So this was like right around Nevermind. Was happening, and we were sort of dialing down the guitars while they were sort of beefing them up.
Yeah.
That whole sort of sub pop scene. We played the Rat with Soundgarden. That's kind of like that's how fast everything changed.
Remember Mitch?
Yeah, of course I remember Mitch. Mitch is burned in the retina and the ears, that voice box.
And that toupee.
Yeah, oh God.
Or whatever that was.
Whatever it was, matted down pre-Trumpian.
Sort of. Oh, it was something else, that thing. It was like a hat.
Yeah, he was a real character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mr. Butch outside.
Mr. Butch outside, yeah. One time Mr. Butch, like he wanted some money, he wanted to buy some beer, but I thought, he said, I was going to a liquor store, that one you had to walk downstairs into, like right in Kenmore, you stand out front there. He said, give me a pint of, give me some Black Label. So I got him scotch. You just wanted beer. And I ran into him a few days later. He's like, oh, that fucked me up, man.
You wanted Carling Black Label.
Yeah, he just, but yeah, Butch was, him and that, he had a guitar for a while.
Yeah, he would play. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Butch.
Yeah.
I think they're both dead.
Yeah, they both are.
Yeah. But so. So you played the Rat with Soundgarden.
Yeah, I mean, so there was like this, sort of affinity between those bands out in Sub Pop in Seattle and us and the East Coast stuff. And, but yeah, I mean, Nirvana really, as everybody knows, it was just sort of cracked it all open. And, so we were on this labels in the U.S. It was through Beggar's Banquet, but it was called Thirsty Year. They're mostly a promotional house. You might know Mike Studo, who had the Hi-Fi Brownies and it became the Hi-Fi bar.
Yeah, Brownies. Mike, down in Alphabet City.
Yeah, so he worked that Let Me Come Over record. But then it was so Taillight's Fate is sort of getting some spins.
That's a great song
on the radio show.
Velvet Roof, I love that song.
Yeah, thanks.
Your guitar sounds very specific. Like I listened to the latest record that I just got. Is that out yet?
The new one.
Yeah.
It's called Quiet Peace. It's coming out on March 2nd.
How do you get that guitar sound? What are you playing?
Well, a lot of this is credit to Jay. This is stuff that I grew up playing too, like humbucker pickup through tube amps. That's basically it,
Yeah.
But if you can get very specific with an SG.
You like the
Gibson
SG?
I love the SG. Because it's light and you can kind of
lead
get a lot of
pickup or
twang
rhythm?
out of it. Mostly bridge pickup.
Yeah.
And you put that through a JCM 800 or a Marshall with a master volume, so then you can kind of dial in the gain. Just mostly
dial in the gain
with
the second volume.
Yeah.
So you can amp up the drive on the second volume.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's mostly it, and a lot of acoustic
I guess that's
underride.
right.
But so Jay, but by the time we met Jay, I had sort of gotten away from the tube amps of my youth and was playing like everybody else to a JCM 8. What do you call it? A JC 120. Those jazz chorus Roland amps.
Oh really?
Those,
yeah.
Playing with Strat and sounded kind of like jangly. And Jay's like, put these there, here, plug this in here, because we were getting back into the beef, because it was Husker Du and the replacements. Everybody was beefing it up, so.
And they were all tube guys?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So. Actually, I mean, talk about specific sounds. Bob Mould always had a really specific sound. It always sounded like going directly into the board.
Yeah, man. He's a sweet guy. Yeah. It definitely sounded, it kind of cut through, right?
Right.
Yeah. Who were the bands that you were aligned with on the East Coast, really? I mean, who were the crew that was coming up with you?
Yeah, Lemonheads.
Okay, right.
Blake Babies. But it's funny, we'd go down to New York. There was a band called Sleepyhead. We'd play the Pyramid down in New York. And,
I remember that place.
A lot of bands like that. And then as soon as you hit the road, you become friends with like these, Teenage Fan Club from Scotland and Australia, UMI. So, and there was really kind of,
you saw everybody out there.
Yeah, we would be playing festivals, and
right.
So we'd meet a lot of these bands, or be on the road for like a stretch of dates with them. Sort of like comedy, you probably.
Yeah. And you had long hair, right, for a while?
Yeah,
longer
sort of
hair?
mid-90s, yeah.
Because I think I remember seeing you at TT to Bears. That was the only time I ever saw you.
Uh-huh.
At TT's. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's possible the only time you've seen us? Yeah.
Well, no, but you played
TT's? Oh, yeah. We'd always come back to TT's, even when we were playing like the Paradise, something we still do a TT's gig.
Yeah, man. So, all right, so Let Me Come Over, my point was, it seemed poised to be to be a hit record.
Yeah. I remember.
Yeah.
We felt momentum though going into the next record. So 92, some great things happened that year. I mean, aside from getting married.
That was the year you got married?
Yeah. And that record still did pretty well. It was a real slow burner. It took a while for it to happen. But it didn't sell shitloads of copies, but we went out on tour with My Bloody Valentine on that record.
There's a noisy band.
We played the Reading Festival. Yeah. So it was a great era. So we felt a lot of momentum, and that's actually when we came out here to LA to record Big Red Letter Day, and that was like everybody's like that's where the money was like sort of being put behind for us.
That record.
Yeah, they were putting their bets on that one.
Yeah.
So we were recording with the Robb Brothers, but it was very much like that they had done It's a Shame About Ray, and which we really liked, by the Lemonheads. So that's the one with, It's a Shame the song.
What happened to that guy? Where's Dando at?
Evan, he's still playing. Yeah. I think he's mostly based out of the Martha's Vineyard right now.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So he sort of cashed out and he hangs out?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I saw Evan in April. We did a benefit for the ACLU in Boston together.
Is he all right?
I think he's all right.
Yeah.
We only see each other like once a year or every 2 years now. We're connected online or whatever, social, but I don't know. I can't really speak to his.
Sure, man. All right, so now that you're out here, you're recording. This is a big record.
Yeah.
And what happens?
Yeah, I mean, modestly better, We got Buzz. I don't think actually we had Buzzbin. What was the thing back then on MTV?
Yeah, I don't remember.
We were in rotation.
Yeah.
That was the era where you would spend the amount of the record budget on one video, and then you do another one for $100,000 or whatever, and you just hope that MTV put it into rotation, high rotation. But we were never that big. I mean, it was sort of what we appreciated was that we started playing bigger halls.
Right.
We started to take some opening tours. That was always a mixed bag.
What do you mean?
Like
first band?
Yeah. Do we open up do we take this tour opening up for Counting Crows? You know, or do we take this tour that the label really wants you to go open for 6 weeks, open up for the band live or whatever it was? Yeah, exactly. And
they had that one song.
Yeah, and that was kind of that era where, I mean, everything was commercial now. And
that was when college rock got commercial.
Yeah,
and
that's when it became quote unquote alternative.
Right. A lot of people sound the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
like Pearl Jam infected everybody. A certain type of band.
Yeah, I mean, Pearl Jam came out and did their thing, and then there was a whole bunch of guys that started singing kind of in lower mumbly register, And,
yeah. So, but I guess, when I look at, you keep chipping away.
Yeah.
But at what point, like you say, you got a family now, you got a day job, you're writing books. So, was there a tangible point in the life of the band where you're like, I gotta get some backup going.
Yeah. Well, no, there were multiple times where we just sort of, I think in my mind and literally quit the band like once or twice. And sort of we pulled ourselves back from that ledge. But I gotta say that getting to the, it sort of mirrored the 90s almost literally. Like by the end of the 90s, we had said, okay, Beggar's Banquet, you've been a great home, but if we're going to keep doing this, we're going to keep pushing it. Let's sign directly to a U.S. major label and see if that's going to get us over the hump, right?
Right.
So it was somewhat, I wouldn't say craven, but it's like, it's ambitious. It's like, you want to kind of, look, everybody else is making these, selling millions of records. Why aren't we? Or whatever else. And it's a ridiculous kind of thing. And
Did
I had
to consume you?
Not consuming, but it started, I realized, and I think the band started to realize that we didn't make any kind of musical decisions. So, maybe one or two where with commercial things in mind. And that was really about choosing singles and stuff and maybe having a guy, the remix guy, mix that single.
Right.
But if you had asked us when we started where we were going to do that kind of stuff, we'd be like, "Oh no, man!
Well, of course,
the vocals are too loud in the
everybody's
in the
like
mix."
that. Yeah. You can't tell us what to do. What's
it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
I think we mostly stuck to our guns, and probably to our own detriment. But so it took a while to make that last record of the '90s, which was called Smitten, and it's kind of a commercially sounding record. It has some really good songs, some that I'm not so happy about that we don't play much anymore. But so '99. My first kid was born. Tom already had 2 kids. We were sort of sick of the whole thing, the recording, the touring, because we were making a good living, but we had to keep it going. We had to
stay on the road.
Cycle going. Yeah. And we didn't want to do that anymore. And it was like the last tour was opening up for the Goo Goo Dolls, who had been this band under us for all these years. And then they became huge. And so we're on this tour, and I've got my own daughter now being born, and I'm playing to a bunch of girls that are closer to her age than mine, 12-year-old, 13-year-old girls that have seen Johnny and these guys on MTV, and they're great guys. And, but it was just an unrewarding tour, and we said, all right, and we got dropped, so that our decision was made for us.
You got dropped from
Polydor, which was under the whole Seagram's Universal deal, like something like
after Smitten?
Smitten, yeah. And so then we stopped.
You stopped?
Yeah, we stopped. We just said, okay, we're not breaking up. We're not the kind of guys that say, hey, we're going on a reunion. I mean, last tour, retirement tour, or whatever, which may have.
But all of you got out of it without, major drug abuse, drug issues or booze issues or, outside of maybe some broken hearts and some bitterness, you made it out alive?
Yeah, well, I'm here. Yeah. But, I mean, the drinking on the road was certainly a concern, but I would come home and I would successfully just kind of turn it off.
Sure.
But that was, I completely credit having my, the girl I met in college, Laura, who I married in 92. If I didn't have that sort of rudder type of, force in my life, I'm sure I just would have been like, yeah, let's stay on the road, man. And like, whatever, just give me everything.
Still be out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, the other 2 guys were all like these really, I don't think there's a more level-headed bunch of
and they're all
3 guys.
They're both family guys too now.
Yeah.
And you all live around in New England or where?
Yeah. So Chris lives right outside Harvard Square. I live in Lexington, right outside of Boston, and Tom's up in Newburyport, up near New Hampshire.
Yeah. I miss parts of being there.
Yeah.
Because it was a very defining part of my life, the New England part.
Yeah.
And as weird as it all is and as sort of segregated and odd.
Parochial.
It is. There is a consistency to it that is sort of comforting.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there now since I'm 16, since I was 16 years old, but I still feel like I'm more of sort of Long Island kid than I am a New England person.
You still got family down there?
Yeah, of course, yeah, but I don't get down there that much, It's mostly friends that I stuck.
Well, it kind of balanced out between the 2 accents. You don't seem to have an accent.
I don't think so, yeah.
Yeah, that's lucky, because both options were kind of annoying.
It's right, man. Sausage.
Yeah. Sausage and sausage. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. But, so now, when you stop doing that, that's like, because this is the thing, like one of the reasons was, that we never got together, that because I followed you for a long time and I loved the music. And then I was always wondering, how, when I saw you wrote a book, I'm like, well, that's great. But I never know how people handle that evolution. Because, like, you know, when I was up against it and my career was going nowhere and there was nothing I could do about it. There's nothing you can do to sell a record other than do your best. There's nothing you can do to make people come see you do comedy, but do your best. And when it doesn't work, that's a horrible, dark moment.
Yeah. I went through that. I was like, what, 30-ish. 33. That was a really low ebb for me. And I felt like
after Smitten.
Yeah, and I tried to like get a solo thing going with another band. I mean,
I liked your record. I listened to one of them. I can't
thanks.
remember which one it was, the last one.
Yeah, I had a band, and in fact, I just had dinner with that guy that was in my band, Crown Victoria, Tom Polche, who'd mixed a bunch of other Buffalo Tom records as well later on. But
yeah,
I mean, it was a really tough era because it was the era that, you know, radio had completely gone mainstream again. It was like Limp Bizkit and Creed, and there was no hope for sort of a guy that didn't make a huge dent, you know.
Right.
But I tried anyway, and I that's when I started saying, well, I got to do some other things in life. But it was a low ebb because it should have been a really happy time because my daughter was just born. But that was. You know, that was the most depressed I've probably been since I was like, 16 and had moved from New York.
Yeah, because when you do a creative pursuit, there's no...
It's your identity, you know?
It's your identity, but there's no easy shift into what after a certain age. I mean, fuck, I was in my mid-40s, when the wheels came off.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, what am I prepared to do?
Right. Real estate.
That's right. We'll get that license.
That's what I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, no
That's
shit.
what I've been doing. That's how I made and that's a weird identity crisis kind of thing almost every couple. I mean, I've been doing real estate around Lexington, Massachusetts for like 16 years, and I still have a hard time. It's kind of squaring it all.
You're probably a known guy.
Like, I am. I may make a living, and it's the only, it's like, here's my resume, guy. I graduate in 89 and I'm in a rock band until 99. So hire me, it's like, nah, you got to kind of do something yourself.
Right.
It's America. You got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
So you went and got a license?
Got a license, kind of eased into it. I was still doing music, and Buffalo Tom was still doing stuff. Like,
sure.
We had like an A-side record. We actually had kind of a hit record in the UK with a cover of a Jam song. For the B-side was Oasis, so it was this big record.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. So we still kept doing stuff, but it got to a point where we're like, well, if we're going to keep doing this, let's not just be a nostalgia act, right? Let's kind of let's see if we can still write songs together. And we were all writing.
Well, you can't
songs.
be like, well, that's good because you can't really be a nostalgia act if no one knows who you are. Here these guys.
That's kind of the point. Yeah.
Here are these guys doing the song that they think everybody knows.
Yeah, that's kind of the truth. No. I mean, we really had this sort of cult audience.
Sure,
it wasn't a huge cult audience, but it was worldwide. Like we could,
you could
all
sell
through
tickets
all
everywhere.
through the 2000s. We could pop over to Australia. We could pop over to Holland or whatever, in London. Yeah, it wasn't. It's not like 3,000 seaters, but it was enough to sort of at least break even.
800 to 1,000.
Yeah, and in London or
1,500.
Belgium. Yeah, Belgium, a couple more. Yeah.
So, well, that's great. But all right. So you're selling real estate. You do all right with it?
Yeah.
Residential? Commercial?
Yeah, mostly a lot of modern stuff, mid-century stuff. Around that area, yeah.
And that's sort of that's your bread and butter.
That's it. I mean, music still brings in dribs and drabs, but
you still sound like you. Guitar, the voice, the songs are still sounding like you.
Yeah.
On that new album, it's not all you singing though, huh?
No, Chris sings like 4 songs, but Chris is always pretty much from not the first record, but the second record, always sang a song or two, and then increasingly wrote more and more.
Well, I guess I noticed it more this record.
Yeah,
I don't know.
4, I think.
Yeah. And where does the book, before we get to the newest record, so you're doing real estate and you're okay. You got and your wife works probably?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
She's mostly taking care of the kids though, thank God.
But everything worked out all right.
Yeah, I think so.
That's a good story.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So like you're not really, it's like not like the music's a hobby or you gave it up necessarily because you didn't really get closure. Like you didn't have to, I guess what I'm saying is like you're not one of those people that you're able to accommodate still doing the music without it representing some sort of failure.
I hope so.
No, you know what I mean? Like, it's still probably the most important thing to you.
It absolutely is. It's still probably too much a part of my identity, but it's like as an artist, whatever, that's a big word, but that's kind of who I am. It's the other stuff that I have a hard time I mean, writing about the Stones or whatever, that's another part. But yeah, going to have a day job is a weird thing to me still.
Sure.
But it fascinates me to, like, when I listen to your show, for example, or other people's shows, and they're interviewing, like, whatever peers from our era that maybe sold a few more records or didn't, or like how do they keep it going? Like, where do you live? And how, I live in a really expensive area, so that's part of it.
Those are questions I always wonder about. Yeah, that's why I sort of asked you about Dando, and you're kind of like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, Evan did like a Jell-O commercial when he was a kid, and I know that was paying for some. Back when we knew him, he had like sort of a Jell-O. I think he had a song called the Jell-O Fund or something.
The Jell-O Trust.
Yeah.
No, but it is an interesting question. How do people survive? Yeah. And because it's not necessarily part of the mystique to divulge that, because they might either be having a hard time or they might be having a very sort of mundane, normal time.
Yeah, well, the mystique is that's the word. I mean, and not a lot of bands, even from our era, where it was all about being real or stripping away a lot of that. Yeah. Like, I would just go on stage with whatever I was wearing, for example. But even bands of our era, where it was pretentious to think otherwise, did sort of cultivate mystique, if not themselves and their publicists.
Sure.
Did, right?
Well, but just the nature of you being a band, people assume, even when musicians back in the day, like, if they had a day job, they didn't give a fuck about it. Right. They were driving a van.
Oh, yeah, we had day jobs on the early side until our third album.
Yeah. Right. But
when you're in your 20s, you don't need a whole lot.
That's right. Yeah. A couple hundred a week. But it's just sort of interesting to me that, at some point for people to, and I think family responsibility makes a big difference. Yeah. Like, you can't really think twice about it.
No, exactly.
I've got to do this.
Yeah. And I don't know. All three of us came from, none of our parents were divorced. They were all stayed married. So we came from these, that's a very
working
unusual
class
thing for a band. I mean, sort of upper middle class. So the pragmatic aspect was ingrained. I couldn't really go off the rails,
Yeah.
Like there's
just some inside you wouldn't let you.
Yeah, and there's mental illness in our family and struggles with addiction and things like that. But the family is such a huge. I got to say it, to our credit. It's like you can't. Nobody's going to let you go out and just be the guy on Skid Row. That didn't make it in the music business.
Or keep in your family.
Yeah.
But you didn't let yourself do that.
Right.
Yeah, but you're saying that, like, the family, they would have thrown you a line.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I could have easily succumbed if, like I said, if I hadn't been married or had a girlfriend early on.
Yeah.
And to something to come home to.
Yeah.
I really, even if I was coming back from tour, I just love being in bars and hearing bands and drinking, and
sure.
I think it would have gotten worse than it did.
So what was the experience doing this record?
It was great. So, we worked with Dave Minahan. Do you know Dave Minahan? He plays second guitar in the Replacements on the last kind of iteration. And he's been playing with Paul for, his solo stuff. He was in a band called The Neighborhoods. You probably knew
I remember The Neighborhoods. The three of them.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so funny.
Yeah. So he's got a studio in Waltham. Much like the old Fort Apache, a real raw sort of warehouse space with a ton of old amps and guitars.
Oh yeah.
So we worked with him, and then we had John Agnello, who you've interviewed. We had him mix it.
Oh yeah,
and he worked on our.
He did it. He
record.
does a lot of good shit.
He's a great guy.
He's a good cat.
Yeah,
he does a lot.
He's got an amazing discovery, and it's so different. There's like
what is it about him? What do you like about him in terms of working with producers? I mean, having worked with Mascis, and what does a producer do for you?
Well, back then, so when we first on Sleepy Eyed album, we brought we wanted to. It was a reaction to the record previous, which had been Big Red Letter Day, which was really produced. We were out here for 2 months working with these guys, these old school guys, the Robb brothers. And so I said, let's make a record like Tonight's the Night or Some Girls, where we're all in the same room and the amps are buzzing and the snares rattling and, it's live off the mic like that, that kind of stuff. And that vibey record. And John was up for it. And John had done obviously some Dinosaur and Sonic Youth stuff, and we loved the way it's, and he was just a great guy, and he's this total Brooklyn kind of funny, smart ass guy. That totally fit our personalities. Yeah. And so we loved working with him, and then I we just kept doing different things, and then I saw John. It had been a long time. at the Dinosaur 30th down at the Bowery Ballroom, and we went out and had drinks afterwards. And he's like, yeah, I'd love to do another record with you. And I said, well, we would love to do another record with you, but we couldn't get down to New York to record it and stuff, so he just ended up mixing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, great mixer though.
Yeah, and which label's putting it out?
It's School Kids Records.
Okay.
Yeah, it's through Red Eye Distribution. Kind of these guys it's this guy Stephen Judge out of North Carolina.
And when's it come out?
March 2nd.
And it's going to be on vinyl too?
Yeah. Yeah, they'll have them send you that.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm going to need the vinyl.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that now these Stones books, like writing the second Stones book, like what did you have to do? I mean, what?
Yeah, so I wasn't going to write another Stones book. I wasn't even sure if I was going to write another. I was pretty sure I wasn't going to write another book, but right before in 2012, before their anniversary, their 50th anniversary, some agent got in touch with me and said, hey, I've got this idea to do like 50 tracks, tell the story of 50 years. And I said, that sounds like a perfect idea. Yeah. Sure, I'd be into it.
And they'd seen this book?
Yeah, so he knew me from that, maybe some other thing I had written online or something on a blog. I did a proposal and I mean, I'm not a real journalist. I was learning to be more of one, like how to interview people. And I interviewed Andy Johns and Bobby Keys, but it was really hard for me to get to the stuff. I was really envious of you to get, sit down with Keith and
I think I fanboyed out too much. I did all right.
I would totally fanboy. So I met him I talk about that in the preface, just as I was sort of, I don't even know if I had a book deal yet, but I was at this Lyrics Award.
Yeah.
Did you know about this? It's like Chuck Berry was getting a Lyric Award from Penn, New England with Leonard Cohen. So it was Keith and Elvis and, all these guys.
Costello, obviously.
Elvis Costello was there.
He's a good guy.
And and Paul Simon was there. It was this huge thing for Boston.
You did a Paul Simon cover.
Yeah, Simon and Garfunkel. Yeah, on
the new record.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I was just standing there. I'm talking to my friend Tom Parada, who's a novelist, who's another guy you should maybe talk to, a really funny guy. Anyway, he's sort of giving the opening remarks at this thing, and so we're up in this like ante room before at the JFK Museum. And Paul Simon, and Keith is just on the other side of Paul Simon. I'm just like, I gotta get past.
How do I get around Paul Simon?
And then Keith was standing by himself, and I said, Keith, I just got to tell you, man, I'm just a huge fan, and I'm just like everybody else that's coming up to you is probably saying the same thing, but I just have to say it, right? And he's like, oh man, I feel the same way exactly about Chuck Berry, mate. He's and I said, yeah, and so it's so cool that they're giving him, recognition for his lyrics, which just he's exactly, man. He goes, hurry, home drops in our eyes, and he just beats his chest a couple times. I'm like, man, Keith has just pivoted this awkward situation to like two guys just talking about Chuck Berry lyrics. And it was like everything I could have hoped for. I was just going to leave it there. But in fact, I had told Evan that I was going to be down there. I knew Evan's buddies with like his son and Keith, and Evan's just sort of, everybody loves Evan. So I said, hey, I might meet Keith at this thing. I'm going to try it. He goes, tell him I said hi. So I said, I want to just say, Evan says like, it's Evan. He's a good cat, man.
Which Evan?
Evan Dando.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a good cat.
No kidding.
So yeah. I mean, then I wish I could have gotten to those guys themselves, but I don't think it's an easy prospect for another Stones book, Yeah, Mick. But I had long conversations with Andy Johns and Bobby Keys and Mary Clayton.
Good you got that before he kicked it.
Yeah.
And he was something, man.
He really was.
It's weird that, like, I over time through listening to a bit of jazz and stuff to really appreciate, certainly like someone like Keys or, even Clarence Clemens to a degree where, it's such a signature sound, but it is just that instrument. But nobody sounds like Bobby Keys. Right. And he's all over all those records.
Yeah.
It's kind of insane.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not as obnoxious to me as some of like the E Street Band sax, which
I know, but I'm just saying that, like, I have a hard time differentiating between jazz players.
Oh yeah.
But there's something about rock and, guys who come from, that discipline, the R&B discipline.
It's sort of the King Curtis, post King Curtis, like the blow, like really belted it out, as opposed to like nuanced sort of jazz players,
that to fit the rock thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like it's more of a
being heard kind of thing.
It is right, and if you get too complicated, ain't no one's gonna give a shit.
Right. It's more a rhythmic style.
Yeah, it's a balance, man. Yeah. You're right. So the Stones book, it focuses on 50 songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I picked 50, and it's not, I mean, it's not a top 50, so I was getting a lot of grief. You picked Winter off of Goat's Head Soup as one of their 50 best songs? I'm like, no. Well, I mean, if you put a gun to my head, it kind of is.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
No, I tried to pick songs from all of their albums. I did, from all of their albums. So
What'd
I wanted
you pick from Metamorphosis?
Oh, no. From all I should say from all their, there might be something from Metamorphosis on there, but it's from all their actual releases. You know, Metamorphosis is outtakes.
Weird record.
Yeah, it's outtakes.
Is it outtakes?
Yeah, it's all outtakes and from different eras.
It's just like that. I think the whole notion of how, not so much how to record a record, but how to sort of like, become a community. Right. As a band,
right,
with a bunch of other people around, and then just ride riffs out until they start to make sense. Because some of the outtakes that I heard on that remaster, like, I don't know if they're outtakes, but it's sort of like, or different versions of, what was it, Tumbling Dice?
Good Time Woman.
Yeah. Like, they picked the right ones generally.
Yeah. They absolutely did.
Yeah. That's the one thing about outtakes and about bootlegs and stuff like that. It's sort of like, there's a reason that it's not out
and
there.
Everybody that worked with him, and Andy Johns, had said this in every interview, not just the one that I talked to him, but he said they would be the worst band for like 2 days. You just like, they're never going to pull this shit together. And then all of a sudden, one take, the tape was always rolling, but
right.
She said this is true for their whole career. All of a sudden they would just latch in, and that was it. And it would just, magic would happen, and that would be the master. So it kind of explains a lot of, maybe this is overstated.
Yeah.
But a lot of Charlie's fills are kind of weird because he doesn't know necessarily where the one is. Like, if you think of Tattoo You, they had been playing that as a reggae song for like 6 hours.
Yeah.
And then then Keith just went into this downbeat version of it. And Charlie kind of comes in on a kind of weird spot, and that's the take they used. And they went back into reggae for like another 2 hours. But they went back and found that, and they're like, "Oh, we got to put this out."
That's why. See, that's the thing.
Start Me Up. Did I say Start Me Up on Tattoo You?
Yeah. Start Me Up.
Yeah. He just, because it had been like, which is, who wants to hear that song ever again? It's so overplayed, but to hear it in that context is interesting, I think.
No, it's fascinating that they would take the time and just noodle around. Yeah. And like, it's sort of like, I don't have enough dedication to any rabbit hole to stay in it very long.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get started. But like with the Stones, like, I'm glad I sort of had a beginner's mind to it, when I saw them in San Diego.
Yeah.
And being sort of a, born again, vinyl guy, or just paying more attention than I ever have.
Yeah.
I'm just getting to stuff that people have, got to years ago. But that's the great thing about music. It's the magic is they're just a 4-piece operation, and there's no backtracking, and they're carrying each other.
Right.
And they're raw as they've ever been.
Yeah.
And the songs feel so profoundly full. It's a magic to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you're saying, I mean, I think you skipped the right era, like those mid to late 80s, like when they got back together. I saw them during those tours, and it was like, I just want to go and touch the hem of their garment. I just want to see them,
right? Sure.
It was sort of like, whoa, that was a great version of one of these songs that I didn't expect,
Yeah.
And there was one era where they were taking internet requests, and I think they might have even done that in the last tour, and it's like trying to get the album track that they don't play,
Well, they were going to do the whole Sticky Fingers record, and they bailed on it.
Right, so they started that here at the Fonda,
I didn't get to see that. Couldn't get tickets. I tried.
Yeah, and they ended up doing a lot of that record. So I think a big
Moonlight
force
Mile.
has been
I couldn't believe it.
Chuck Lobell sort of keeping them like, you should go back and learn some of these great songs that your super fans are into. You're not going to lose your fans if you do a down tempo song.
If you don't,
I think Mick's Rory's
nervous.
Keeping the show rolling.
Yeah. Well, they did, like, he did Moonlight Mile. Yeah. And in, like, the vulnerability of it was like just mind blowing.
It hits you, doesn't it? Yeah.
Because they stick him out there by himself.
There's a moment like that. Did you see the Scorsese movie? There's a moment like that where there's like an extreme close up. I think it's as Tears Go By, maybe.
Yeah.
I can't.
That movie was sort of sad to me because it didn't seem like they were getting along at all.
Yeah.
Mick and Keith.
Yeah,
like it seemed like they were literally trying not to talk to each other.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
I think it's always been that way pretty much since I think since before the 80s, and since then it's been like a detente here and there. I don't know if they're ever hanging out happily together. Yeah, I don't think so.
All right, man. Well, now thank you for the books.
Thank you.
Thank you for talking to me.
Thanks for having me.
And
it's an honor to be here.
I'm excited about the new record. It sounds like a Buffalo Tom record.
Yeah, we're still there.
All right. And
how much longer for the garage? Am I one of the last guys in the garage?
No, we got a little time. We got a little time, but you might be one of the last. I'm still sort of like iffy about it. Like all of a sudden now, because they're redoing the house, I'm like, well, maybe I'll keep it. Maybe
just like jack it up and put it in a truck and bring it to the.
I like the new garage, but like people are starting to really get in my brain about this sort of.
No, you can't like let nostalgia dictate it.
That's right. I don't want to become a nostalgiac.
Right, exactly. Keep it vital, man.
Take care.
Thanks.